మిత్రులారా బంధువులారా మిత్రునాం వనక్కము స్వాగతము. వెల్కమ్ టు సౌత్ ఏషియా మ్యాప్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఛానల్. దిస్ ఈజ్ యువర్ presenter డాక్టర్ జె రెడ్డి, జె తిరుపతి రెడ్డి. We are continuing our rice grains on chessboard series. This is part 8. The title of today's presentation is How many rice grains 1 million ton contains? That is 50 trillion grains. Why I have excuse me for my allergies. Why I have chosen 1 million ton is that is the standard way of measuring the rice or wheat or sorghum harvest globally. The ton is a standard metric system that contains 1,000 kilograms, a ton, and 1 million tons. మిత్రులారా, సో దిస్ ఈజ్ వన్ బ్యాగ్ ఆఫ్ రైస్. ఈ ఒక బ్యాగు, ఇంకొక బ్యాగు, ఇంకొక బ్యాగు. ఏ బ్యాగ్ జనరల్గా 70 kilograms ఉంటుంది. Suppose if you are taking a rice, 1 grain, put it again, double it, put it in the next square, in the chessboard, again put it. ఇక్కడికి వచ్చే సమయానికి ఎన్ని రైస్ గ్రెయిన్స్ పడతాయి, అది మనము ఈ దినము చక్కగా విశ్లేషణ చేద్దాం. వాటి వెయిట్ ఎంత ఉంటుంది అనే విషయంపై. This is the rice grain chessboard series and we are in topic 8. The rice grain weightages and numbers in a ton. Ton is round up. It is 1,000 kilograms. Ton. So throughout the next couple of topics, this point you have to keep in mind. It's very important. 1 kilogram excuse me for my allergies, contains 50,000 grains. 1 ton contains 50 million grains. 1 million ton contains 50 trillion grains. We are presuming the weight of the rice grain and average is 20 milligrams. And this we will explore further as we move in the topic. This you should always keep in mind. This is the topic 8. How many rice grains 1 million ton contain? That is 50 trillion grains. So these topics I am working on further in the rice grain chessboard enigma riddle. The complexity and intuitiveness will be posting soon. All these presentations, Mitrulara, sorry today for my allergies, I have posted at the South Asia Maps J Reddy YouTube education channel. There are around about 750 videos posted as of 2025 February. I have put them around about 75 or so playlists so that you can pick and choose the topic of your interest. That is the topic we will be covering today. That is how many rice grains 1 million ton weight contains. Here I will read out this what I have gathered so that we will start with. Here the rice grain, I think it is without grain, but does not matter what it is without grain, I guess. A single grain of rice weighs between 12 to 22 milligrams. The weight of the rice grain with husk is 20-25% more. So just a grain. I have rounded up to 20 milligrams. That's very important. We take for granted. I will show the place where I obtained this. So I will go over this in detail. That's very important. You have to understand whatever I have written here, I have posted here. And before that, Mitronam, you have to have a very good clarity. We are dealing with big numbers. So you have to understand what is a million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion. A million, you generally know it is a 6 zeros, billion is 9 zeros, trillion is T and 12, quadrillion, quintillion, standard dictionary words. This is the metric system. Million, you can remember mega. Billion, remember big, that is the giga. Trillion is tera. T and T, they tally together. M and M tally together. Quadrillion, R comes first, that is peta, and quintillion, exa. That is, if you remember a country called Taiwan and is a capital Taipei, you start TPE, that is the tera, peta, exa. Exa means 18. And if you remember Mongolia, a country north of it, that is the mega and giga. So this I'll be telling many times so that audience has to have a clarity. And I discussed this in detail. Look in the previous videos. So we have assumed the weight of a rice grain is 20 milligrams. So 20 milligrams, one rice grain here. That means that is nothing but 0.02 grams. That means if you take a 0.1 gram, you can fit 5 rice grains in it. That means 0.1 gram is nothing but 100 milligrams divided by a denominator 25 grains you can fit in 0.1 gram. That means in a 1 gram weight of rice weightage you can fit 50 grains. So this is very, very clear for you at this stage. That means 1 gram weightage contains around about 50 rice grains, and 1 kilogram of rice weightage should contain 50,000 rice grains. Very easy. You added 3 zeros here, you added 3 zeros here. 53 zeros is 50,000 rice grains. That's very easy. 1 kilogram of the rice weight contains 50,000 rice grains. If you remember that, the rest of the things are very easy. So we are further articulating that. Remember, 1,000 grams is nothing but 1 kilogram. The same thing we are reiterating. That means 1 kilogram contains 50,000 grams. That means if you multiply that 1 kilogram 20 times, that means you will get 50,000 multiplied by 20. That means 50, 20 means there will be 3 zeros. There will be 3 zeros after one. That is 1 million grains. That means you can fit in 1 million rice grains in 20 kilograms of rice weightage. So you have to have a clarity of the weight. You should have a clarity of the number of grains. That's very, very important. And next series, this point is very, very important. So we have 1 kilogram, we have concluded 50,000 grains. It's very easy so far. So instead of 1, you make it 1,000 kilograms, means you add 3 zeros. 50 here, 3 zeros before, add 3 more zeros. 50 followed by 6 zeros. That means 1,000 kilograms contains 6 zeros means million, 50 million grain. Remember, 1,000 kilograms is simply a ton. Sometimes it's called metric ton. Do not get uh, confused by the word metric ton and million ton. Million is 6 zeros. Metric is a metric system. A ton is nothing but a metric ton. I'm bringing this point because sometimes they may put it, you should not get lost. So 1,000 kilograms is a ton. That is a 50 followed by 6 zeros. 50 followed by 6 zeros, 50 million. 6 zeros is a million, 9 zeros is a billion, 12 zeros is trillion. T, that is a trillion, 12 zeros. Easy to remember. That means you have 1 ton, we have zeroed 50 million grains present. You add 1 million ton. That means you again add 6 zeros ahead. That means you have 50, right, millions there, 6 zeros, again 6 grams. Remember here, this you have to combine together. That means essentially 1 million ton is nothing but 50 followed by million million. Million means 6 zeros, 6 zeros is 12 zeros. 12 zeros is a trillion, that is the tera. That means 1 million ton of rice grain, 1 million weightage contains 50 trillion grains. Rice grains. This is very important. Why we are talking about that? We will come to that point. So this we have made it very clear here. How many rice grains 1 million ton contains 50 trillion grain. So entire thing, this particular point I will be articulating in the next couple of series. It is not to tell the same thing, so that if you didn't have the chance to look at the previous videos, you will have to have a clarity. 1 kilogram is 50,000 grains. If you start moving kilogram, make it ton, 1 million ton, you get it all these things very here. 1 million ton contains 50 trillion ton grains. That means if you start putting one grain from in the rice board after 45 square, somewhere 45, 50, the entire chessboard contains this much grain. I have made that point very clear for you here again. This is the square 45, square 46 grains on that particular square. Remember, the grains on the particular square will be the double than all the grains before. That point we discussed already. The point has to be very clear. Grains on the square and grains on the board, including that square. These 2 points are little different. So, in the 45th square, there are around about 35. You see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 zeros here. We rounded up zeros. That means trillion grains. That means up to this far, there will be 35 trillion grains on the chessboard. After this part, there will be 70 trillion grains before. So I have put somewhere in the middle. So 50 trillion grains. That means if you remember during the British colonial time, when the British conquistadors ruled Bharat, general elections were conducted at that time, 45 to 50 and so on, similar conference. So you will get that particular point easy to remember. Let's go over this a little bit detail. So we are reiterating the same thing here. So 1 kilogram, 1 ton and 1 million ton, 50 million trillion grains. 1 kilogram is 50,000 grains, and we have taken the rice grain and average weight 20 milligrams. This bag has 50 trillion grains. We are assuming this 1 million ton weightage. Why are we talking about here? So if you remember a country called Taiwan, I will show the actual statistics that produce round about 1.1 million tons of the rice grain. I rounded it up to 1 million tons. That was, I think I will see the figure is the 30th country or anything planet Earth. That means if you take all the rice grain harvest of 2024 from Taiwan, that means you can fit in all the grains on the chessboard somewhere between 45 to 46th square. This point is very clear. Why we are talking about how many rice grains are going to fit in 1 million tons, 532 million tons, 360,000 million tons, that is 360 billion tons. There is a reason. This is 1 million. You have to understand that. 532 million tons means that is the harvest, global harvest of 2024. Why 360 billion tons means that is the amount of the rice, all the rice grains in the entire chessboard. So you have to have a clarity on this, the complexity of that and the lack of intuitiveness of the human being. So that's why the important thing is the human intuitiveness. This is the exponential growth, something growing at a constant rate, that is called compounding or compound rate of interest. Human intuitiveness is poor to grasp the implications of the exponential growth, the concept that is the compounding. What is exponential growth in mathematical terms is not concern for us. Simply, if you remember compounding process, that is nothing but exponential growth. By the time you come to the 64th square, how many grains it has, what is the weightage, what are all the entire chessboard contains how many grains, what is the weightage. That's a very, very serious, complex process. And whether it takes 1 bag or 2 bags or 10 bags of rice or in 10 hectares of the land in the world, you harvest them. 10 hectares means a village, small farm. How many rice grains it holds? That is the point. We generally lack the intuitiveness. That are what we are discussing today. So remember, between 45 and 46. So in the 45 square, by the entire board, this is the grains on the square, this is the entire board. There are the 12 zeros means trillion. It holds around about 35 million, so trillion grains. Whereas in the 46th square, it holds 70 trillion grains. Remember, 1 million ton contains somewhere between these two. That is the harvest from a country called Taiwan in 2024. So we have here this research shows a grain, the rice weighs around about 25 milligrams. I have rounded it up to 20. I should have taken 25 also. The statistics, excuse me, won't change that much. Uh, This is to let you know how we are doing these calculations and derivatives. If you take this figure, you can do the same thing essentially. So there is a difference between the rice grains, what they are showing in this research gate net. The rice grain, this is the grain, that is the kernel. Rice is actually botanically fruit, caryopsis. We need not worry about that, is single grained fruit. And this is the bran, this is the husk. And we are talking about only the grain part, I think, not including the husk, means there will be 20 to 25% more weight. This what I am showing is 31st country in the ranking. Taiwan produced, this is the one. So because the entire figure is, this is the metric tons. Remember, this is not million tons, the metric tons. That's why I cautioned you. This is the metric tons. That's simply take away that. That's just only the tons. So you have three zeros. You have three zeros. That means around about 1.1 million tons grain or 1 million tons grain Taiwan produced in 2024 year, 2025, according to the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture statistics. That's what I am trying to show you. So what are we talking about today? What we are talking about today or discussed is, if you take the rice grain, 1 million ton rice grain contains about 50 trillion grains. That means that is the harvest of a country called Taiwan across the Formosa Straits or Straits of Taiwan, south of Kyushu Island, north of Luzon Island in the Pacific Ocean, that produced 1.1 million million tons global harvest. We round it up to 1 million tons. That means the entire rice grain harvested in Taiwan in 2025. If you pull together, you count them, there will be 50, around about 50 million trillion. Taiwan is trillion, you remember, 50 trillion rice grains. That is the 31st ranking in the global harvest of the rice 2025, that you can put it on round about 45 to 46th square. What is the complexity? Somewhere this is the 33, this somewhere it will fit here. Oh, you have harvested Taiwan rice grains and filled all the squares starting 1 grain, 2 grains, 4 grains, 8 grains, like that. You stopped here. How many rice grains you require to reach here? That is the thing. Most of the time we ignore, we lack the intuitiveness. One of the greatest shortcomings of the humans on the planet Earth, Professor Alan Bartlett from University of Colorado, emeritus professor who passed away, and Boulder, foothills of Rocky Mountains, says his inability to understand exponential growth, that is the compounding. To put the matter in a simple, say, it will take 6, 7, 8 years approximately to fill the entire rice grains of the global harvest. That means if you simply take the harvest from Taiwan, it will take around about 678 billion years. That means you take the global harvest of the rice grains from Taiwan, harvest this year, next year, next year, next year, and you have to harvest round about 678 billion years to fill the entire chessboard here. That is the complexity. As we move ahead, you will understand that fear. So what did we discuss? So that's the very, very important. That means in the future, you will not have that much opportunity to draw down the fertilizers, fossil fuels, convert them into urea, and tractors, combine harvesters. So we'll have other serious issues that I discussed elsewhere in the human ecology series. You can consult. So in the next presentation, Mitronam, because we discussed 1 million ton weightage contains 50 trillion grains. Next, because the global harvest of 2024 world harvest is 532 million tons, that is 530 times that of Taiwan harvest. How many million grains it contains, a trillion, and where we can put on the chessboard, we'll talk about in detail. And thank you very much, Mitranam, joining me today. Your presenter, Dr. J. Tirupati Reddy, South Asia Maps Education Channel. See you later.